This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's tax season, and we're all a bit tired of numbers. But here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now here's a good number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Shopping is hard, right? But there's a better way. Stitch Fix online personal styling makes it easy. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscription required. And she sends just for me pieces. Plus outfit recommendations and styling tips. I keep what I love and send back the rest. It's so easy. Personal styling for everyone. Get started today at stitchfix.com/Spotify. That's stitchfix.com/Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Hello. Mike and I just finished our two-part monthly mailbag podcast for April over at the Patreon. We got a couple of questions about the sort of origin story of Islanders Anxiety and some behind-the-scenes stuff that I thought other people might want to hear. So please enjoy this little sample of that episode. If you want to hear both parts of the mailbag and have a chance at asking questions in a future mailbag, go on over to patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety and sign up for the Country Club tier. All right, please enjoy. Steve D asks a question that I could have swore we answered on an episode of this, but we haven't, so we will answer it here. He says, dopey question. It's not a dopey question. It's a good question. But I'm curious about how you two met and decided to start this therapy group. One from Jersey, one from the island. I am from the island. I just live in Jersey now. And I'm guessing 10 years apart in age. Yeah, something like that. I listened to you from pretty much the beginning. I don't remember hearing the origin story. I don't care about any other sports, so this podcast means the world to me as I have to suffer this team on my own. So I want to thank any serendipity that made it happen. Well, we're all in the same boat because this is definitely the only team that I care about. You care about a couple of others overseas mainly, but this is the only. I'm also a one team guy myself here. Like I said, I thought we answered this. I answered this once before, but I'm from the island. I'm from Seaford. I just live in Jersey now. And the way it went down was in 2011. I started reading Lighthouse Hockey. This was the referendum period. That was the best place to get information. The commentariat was fantastic. I joined as a commenter. I started writing fan posts. And by 2013, I was brought on as a writer. And I asked Dominic Yansky, our fearless leader and founder of the site, I was like, hey, did you guys ever think about starting a podcast? And he said, yeah, we thought about it. We tried it, but nobody really knew what they were doing. And we couldn't really get everybody together. So it didn't really go anywhere. And I said, do you mind if I tried to get one going? He was like, no, absolutely. Go right ahead. And sure enough, I had no idea what I was doing and couldn't get everybody together. I literally couldn't, it didn't go anywhere because I didn't know what I was doing. Fast forward about a year and a half. It's 2015. The Islanders are getting ready to play what we thought was their final season at Nassau Coliseum. And we finally have a meetup. This is the last one, as far as I know, of Lighthouse Hockey writers and commentators. And that was where I met you. You had started writing for the blog at that point. You had your own independent blog that I was a fan of. You started writing for Lighthouse Hockey. We met for the first time there. We hit it off right away. We had dinner beforehand. We're at the game, and I could picture this because I was sitting in front of you. You were sitting in the row behind me. Nassau Coliseum, obviously. And you said to me, have you guys ever thought about starting a podcast? And I said, yeah, we thought about it. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I couldn't get everybody together in the same room. And you said, well, if you're going to do something, let me know because I'm really interested in doing something there. And I don't know if it was right then and there at the game, or maybe it was later where I said, okay, well, if you're interested in doing something and I'm interested in doing something, why don't we do a podcast, just the two of us, and we'll see about like working everybody else in if we can, once we get the hang of it. And you were like, yeah, let's do that. And so I spent the summer figuring out what to do, how to record, how to, get a host and all that kind of stuff. And by the time the Islanders started playing in Barclays Center, that year, in September of 2015, we were running and we were doing it, and here we are like 10 years later. Does that sound about accurate to you? I mean, I feel like I've been practicing this story in my head all day now.
No, I think
that's about it.
That is exactly it, really. It's I think the one thing that I think happened that led me to being at that game, and Dom I wrote an article about right before the last season of the Coliseum, and Dom reached out and was like, hey, liked reading this. If you ever want to write something for us, you just let me know. And that's kind of just how I got connected to the group. And but that's it. Yeah. And then it's it's I can picture myself in the beginning of the first few podcasts, like recording them, and just I once recorded an episode in the MLB offices, because and I remember which one it was. Actually, it was pre-Trotz, pre-Tavares leaving. We talked about I think the title was like he's 77 in Islander years or something.
Yes, I remember that one. Yeah,
yeah, and or it's like something like that. And we talked about how just exhausting the drama was around that whole thing. And I know I recorded it there because I was everyone else was working from home that night, and I was like, oh, you know what? Sometimes I like going in there and having the place to myself, and we're going to record a podcast, and I'll just do it there. So, but anyways, I could picture myself early on in this process of 300 episodes ago, and just sitting on like my couch with no mic, speaking into a computer, and now it's obviously developed into something much more than that. And but I know when we were doing it back then, just being like every episode is like, I wonder if we're gonna do this again next week or in 2 weeks, because we were bi-weekly at that point too. And just the one thing I always say is like it's so easy to start a podcast, but it's not that easy to keep it going, because it's for us, 2 hours a week at least, closed door, and we've got families and stuff, and it's like you can't be bothered during that time, really. And so it's not, that part isn't easy at all. But back then, obviously didn't have a family. Emily and I were just living together, and even then I would just be like, I really hope that Dan says he wants to record again in 2 weeks, because I could totally, like, I don't know how this is supposed to, how does this work? How does a podcast work? Does it just keep going and going and going and going? And then realizing after like a couple seasons, hearing from people be like, yeah, we really like it, like it's great, and that we like that it's a little different from like the people who are like slamming their fists on the desk and being like, they got to trade this guy, or they got to play this guy with this guy. And hearing that stuff and being like, oh, I guess we are going to keep this going. But I do find it funny. Like, I always think people are shocked to hear that you and I, Dan and I, we've probably been in the same room as one another in our lives, maybe 10 times.
Yeah. And most of those were at Barclays Center.
Yeah.
We were taking games. And this is why I've said, like, I miss when the Islanders played there, because it was easier for me to go. We went to a bunch of games together. We met those people from Toronto that one time, and we sat with them for that game against the Oilers. And that was just one of a million. And so if you've ever wondered what it's like to watch a game with Mike and I, this is it. You're listening to it right now. Like, this is the way it sounded. And it just made that much more sense. And you're 100% right. Like, I think the average, like, podcast, like, peters out after like 5 or 6 episodes, and we're at 320 something of Anxiety. We're at almost 70 of Weird Islanders, and God only knows how many of these Patreons and special episodes we've done, and weirdness. And I'm just incredibly proud of the body of work that we've done. Like, it's a lot, and
it's a lot. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun, and people still like it somehow.
Yeah, and I think, and which is, it's crazy to me that people still like it, because I'll like end an episode and be like, I don't even know a thing that I just said. Like, I go into every episode and I'll think about what I want to say, and then I don't say any of what I think I want to say, and then end the episode. And I'm like, why did I just say whatever I just said? And then you hear from the morning, like someone's like, thank you for that. Like you said exactly what I was thinking of that. And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't really remember what I just said.
Yeah.
Emily will text me and she'll just be like, you guys are the biggest whiners and just make fun of me. And for the whole day, she'll be like, oh my God, this is so cringy. You're like crying about Brock Nelson. And I'm like, yeah, I am. But
I will say this. I need you to deliver a message to Emily for me. Say that it is incredibly impressive that she listens to this show.
Yeah.
Because my wife, Anna Maria, my favorite person in the whole world, my daughter, Josie, my other favorite person in the whole world, they would not listen to this show if I paid them money. They would not listen to this. They and I love them for it. I love them for it. That's my world. That they don't need to know about it.
It's great how it happened. So Emily, she like subscribes to the show because she wants to support it, and then she'll listen to like her Jeff Lewis podcast or her Bravo podcast, and then this will start instead of one of those in the car. So she doesn't listen to every episode, but one will pop on, and she'll be like, this is not the podcast is terrible, but she's like, this is embarrassing. Like it's embarrassing to listen to you talk about. One of my goals is to get to one day just have Emily and Anna Maria just do a podcast episode about the podcast and what it's like to have two basically hobbyists doing a podcast, because they it's got to be frustrating for them being like, oh yeah, see you now.
I mean,
see you tomorrow.
She's asleep downstairs watching Law and Order probably, and Josie's gonna go to sleep soon, and it's not easy to keep it going, but you have to have support of your family that understand. You have to want to stick with it, and you have to have an audience that I mean, listen, if we have a very, very loyal and a very, very solid audience, we get literally the same numbers almost for every single episode, whether it's Anxiety or Weird Islanders or Patreon stuff, and it's great that people listen to it, and your presence is very supportive to us. Like we wouldn't be doing this without you guys. We mean that, and but it's still fun. It's still fun. It's as fun now to talk to you about this team as it was 10 years ago.
Yeah,
when you had no mic. I was using a microphone from Karaoke Revolution for the Xbox 360. We were using Skype. Like,
right.
we had to make it up as we went along.
I couldn't even tell you how long the episodes were back then, because we went 2 weeks, and so that means like we'd be like, all right, like this game happened 10 days ago. Let's talk about it. So that
was a big change for us. I remember thinking like, is Mike going to want to go to weekly? Like, I don't know what his life is like, what his work schedule is like. I don't know if we can make this work, but it feels right. It feels like we're still doing this, and we should go weekly.
I know. And it's when I used to work for a newspaper in Rockaway, like a weekly newspaper, and my old boss, who was I wouldn't say like the most on the up and up person, but he did say something that did stick with me, which was he's like, I think the paper went out every Friday morning, and every Thursday when it went to print, he would just say, yep, we just completed another minor miracle. Like it feels like the fact that we can get a paper out is a minor miracle. And I feel that way about certain things in my life. And I do feel that way about the podcast in a way, because so much has to like go right for us every day, to get and most of it's on my end to be fair. Like you're like solid, always on time at the right time. But for me, it's like, Isla is a maniac. I got to find a way to like get her into bed, get her in the bath, into bed. Emmy's like crying, dinner, clean. And I'm like, oh God, I got to get this all done by this time. And then when I close the door to start, I'm like, geez, another minor miracle that everyone's in bed. So,
well, listen, I've been there, again, my daughter was 5 or 6, I guess, when we started this, but I totally been there. I've been to those nights. I've been, trying to just, giving a child a bath shouldn't really be that hard, but trust me, it is. Especially when, they don't want to cooperate. So I've been there. I totally hear you. And like, if it makes you feel any better, when we're done recording these, I got to edit it, and so like that's sort of my end of the thing. Like yours is getting there, mine is getting it done, and so, but I love it. Like that, to me, this is another creative outlet. It's just like with blogging, like it was just a creative outlet. And I've said this before, like, so a lot of people watch a game, team wins or loses, they turn the game off, and they go about their life. That's what Emily is, right? With the Bruins. Like, she just turned the game off and that's it. You go about your life. Some people want to go talk about it and they comment or they go on a message board or whatever. That's the thing. Some people feel the need to create, and that's us. And like, we just, the other Islanders podcasters and bloggers and stuff. And I don't know what it is, but it feels fun, and it's never not fun. I love the creative outlet of it. And again, just talking to you, I wish we hung out more. I wish we did more stuff. I am in New Jersey right now, and you are on the island, and it does suck. We don't have like, an easy way to hang out and stuff, but it's always fun. And we hang out every week. So, I mean, it's fun that way too.
Yeah, it is. And that's, I think that's one of the funny things about the longevity and once again, I'm not trying to, it is a podcast. It's where we show up, we talking about the Islanders, and then we go home, we go to sleep. But so it's not, it's not heroic, but
right.
I'm not
saving lives.
But the one thing I will say is, I think the way I look at it is like, there have been a lot of Islander podcasts, and there are a lot of Islander podcasts, and there have been a lot of Islander podcasts the entire time we've gone, and they just watching some like pop up, then they go about like their cycle, and life gets in the way, and they just get discontinued or for whatever reason, or change into something else. And to the point where when I'll talk to other people who do an Islander podcast, or they're like, yeah, like I used to listen to this, but that one's gone, but you guys are still there. Like, and I appreciate that. Like, I just know you're always going to be there for me on Monday morning or Tuesday morning if the Islanders play on Sunday night. That's really important. And knowing like that's almost how I look at it, more than the years of the episodes. Like, the amount of podcasts that have just sprung up and gone away and stuff, and
it's a lot.
It's crazy. And like, just even like the way the hockey media was, it's, when we first started, it was like Bob McKenzie, right. he was the guy, and now it's this fractured thing that we kind of loathe. And so
we started with Bob McKenzie, and now we got Frank Saravalli.
It's
a huge drop off. But yeah, no, like you said, I mean, we do this. It's fun. We're so glad that people enjoy it. And again, people listen to it from all over, people who work with the Islanders, people who work around the Islanders, people that work in the NHL, they listen, and it's great. But that being said, you and I are both also reminded, your wife is an ER nurse. My wife is a teacher. These are like important jobs. And like, we're sitting here every week talking about the Islanders. So it's like, we get the balance of like, yeah, that's important. And then, we get to do our thing too on this side, which is also serves a bit of an important function, but not quite as important as either of those two things. But no, Steve, this is not a dopey question. We hope we have answered it for you. And again, I could have swore we told that story before, but again,
I think we have. But it's I feel like once a year we'll always like go into the season ending mode and talk about it. But it's fun to relive it, because it's and one, I'm sure we say this all the time, one day we'll do an episode on, and the other thing is like, I want to do an episode where we listen to episode 1 and just kind of like go annotate it, because very different people back then. I think since the podcast started, just to talk about the longevity, like engaged, married, 2 kids. It's a move, bought a house. It's wild that and that all that stuff kind of goes on in the background, and you can hear yourself changing as a human being, and your priorities like getting shifted as from when Thomas Greiss and Jarro Halak were the goaltending tandem to now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we did it through a pandemic, and honestly, we through the pandemic, we started a whole other damn podcast, so there's that too. So, but yeah, no, we could do that one day. It's still out there. Somebody asked me the other day, because we changed hosts. So if you look at Lighthouse Hockey and you go back to the first episode, the episode won't actually be there. But if you do like a search, probably on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you'll find our first episode. It's still out there, and the quality is not going to be as good. But yeah, you can listen, and there's definitely been a lot of changes, but we're not going anywhere. We're still here. And again, I could picture that game just like it was yesterday. We had so much fun. They beat the Flyers. Nikolai Kulemin had 2 goals, and we all thought that was the funniest thing ever, because everybody was shitting on Kulemin and him, his they gave him too much money, but that was so much fun. And that's another thing we need to do, is have another Lighthouse Hockey meetup at some point. at UBS. That'd be a lot of fun. Okay, thank you, Steve. But we have another question, sort of another behind the scenes question here from Jeff, who asks two, actually. One, my first question is, do either of you have any sort of habitual remedy that you do when the Islanders have a bad game or something completely unavoidable? Second question is there any actual effort that comes into wording your thoughts, or does it come naturally? Every episode is a completely original narrative, and I love looking forward to hearing a new way you guys are usually negatively impressed every week. I want to take that second question first, because this sort of gets to how the show is done. I do take notes about the games, just like who scored, maybe who was in, who was out, kind of notable plays, how many saves the goalie made, and kind of just a little quick thing. It's very, very brief. You can almost read them. You can almost hear them verbatim when we do the show. And before we start recording, we'll just talk it out for a couple of minutes, just to chit chat. I'll ask Mike if he has anything that he wants to bring up during the course of the show. Honestly, most of the time, and again, this gets back to just the chemistry that the two of us have all these years, we are a lot of times in sync. And a lot of that is because we talk all the time. We have our group chat. We're always talking. So we kind of know where the other guy is going and thinking. And even if we see something a different way, we'll talk about that and be like, actually, I saw it, I didn't think of it that way. I thought of it this way. So it's usually pretty organic how we come up with this stuff. But a lot of times when I throw it to you, I'll pick up where you're going with it, and we'll just kind of go that way. But as far as like pre-planning, there's almost none. It's just some notes that I write about, because I'm going to forget the scores of the games and who scored the different goals. So I write it down real quick and just to kind of remember. But ultimately, we just start going and we see where we end up. And as you can see, usually about an hour and a half later, we're done. We're exhausted with our topics. That's about it. There's no real a ton of preparation going into any of these episodes.
Yeah, I think I'll probably jot down notes for an episode twice, maybe a year. I very rarely do it. And it's usually something like, don't forget, like I'll just like write down, like for the other night, I didn't even write it down, but I wanted to make sure we talked about the Jalen Chatfield incident. And so it'll be something like that where I'll like write it down, or I'll see something crazy that happens in Maple Leaf Land, and I'll just like write down Mitch Marner shirtless, Luke Fox on a notepad, and I just put it next to myself. And then sometimes I forget to even look over there, and but that's really the extent of it. And I have no rhyme or reason why I do it that way, or I wish I could be more thorough. But I feel like anytime I try, I kind of like get all in my own way about it. So I like that, and just to kind of shoot from the hip, because it's I think that makes it also like lends itself to what we do really well, which is that we just start going and let the conversation then take us. Because if I feel like if you want to be like a more prepared show and write that stuff down, all power to you, but then you're already following a breadcrumb trail.
Right.
And that almost like prevents you from reliving or like sorting through the emotions of the week and what the Islanders have done to us.
Basically what we do. Like that's what we always talk about, like the emotions, the fears, the anxieties, if you will, of what came up. So it's really the Islanders that are dictating what happened.
Yeah.
Because when they win, you just heard our episode, from Sunday, I should say, they had won 2 games in a row. So we were in a pretty good mood. All things considered, had they lost those 4 games and lost that game to the Caps, I don't know if we would have been as accommodating to Alex Ovechkin and the 20-minute long ceremony. But, when they're winning, we're in a good mood. And when they're losing, look out, and even still, sometimes they lose and we're like, hey, what are you going to do? But obviously it's been a lot of that. But we just let it go. And we never script much of anything really. Oh, and the Master Leaf stuff, I kind of keep the notes going on there too, but we try not to do those too often because we don't want to burn out the gag. But you'd be surprised at how little preparation goes into these episodes. So you want to bring up something? Oh yeah, I want to talk about what whatever some guy said on TV. Oh, okay, we'll get into that. I hadn't thought about that. Let's do that. So that's about it. As far as Jeff's other question, do you have any habitual remedies for when the Islanders have a bad game? Which is a lot. Mine's easy. I just close the computer and watch TV. That's really the only thing I can do. I might fire off a DM or a tweet or, you know, a group message thing. But other than that, I'm just like, nope, I'm done. I just close the laptop and go about my life. Hopefully go to sleep soon.
Yeah. I think I'd probably come across as the type of person that would, but I don't. I really don't like. I have little like traditions that I'll pick up when the games mean a lot. But I don't have any for bad games really. One thing I'll never I never when the season's over, or if the Islanders are playing poorly and lose like the night before, I won't wear any of my Islander stuff at all. And then I wait for the Rangers and Maple Leafs to get eliminated before I take it back out.
Yeah.
But that's really it. Like, other than that, I don't really have much after a loss to like wash it out. Sometimes, I mean, if I need to go take a walk, I'll like take Elvis for a walk, but that's about it.
Yeah, I remember you taking Elvis for walks and like thinking about stuff or listening to podcasts or whatever, and you would say, yeah, I took him for the walk and I listened to 32 Thoughts or whatever to kind of clear my head. So I don't know, it's, to me, again, this is where the wives and the kids and the lives kind of come in pretty handy. Is like, it's easy to kind of forget about it, you know, it's easy to just turn it off. And you know, my wife and I will watch The Golden Girls or Law and Order or Real Housewives or something, you know, just to kind of completely erase what happened to me. And you know, you were reminded that it's just a game, and you know, life is a lot more than just that, and you can kind of get into stuff. And you know, that's why I don't mind missing a game every once in a while. I mean, I missed a game a couple weeks. I missed that Montreal game because it was my daughter's school musical, and you know, I was there, and so I was like, you know what, I'd rather be here. Just ignore them for a little bit, and you know, they're winning that game if I'm not mistaken. But you know, it's good. It's good to get away. And so I don't know if it's a habitual thing, but honestly, there have been so many games that have made me so mad over the last few years that I'm almost, this season has just been a lot of blah. My wife watches me and she's like, "Are they winning?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this happened to me on Friday. What's this, how are they doing?" I'm like, "Oh, they're up 3-1. You don't look like they're winning." Well, because I mean, what are they going to do? Their season is over, you know? I mean, they're already out of the playoffs. I don't, they win this game, who cares? And so I'm kind of beaten down, but that's a subject for another podcast. So, but Jeff, thank you very much. And Steve, thank you very much. We appreciate these two sort of behind the scenes questions. To hear the rest of this monthly mailbag podcast and all of our bonus podcasts, head on over to patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety and sign up for our country club tier. Thanks a lot.